baby girl a message saying I won't be coming home. I'd rather be.
Donell Jones was never built for the tabloid era. He arrived just before it, when R&B crooners could still let velvet melodies do their marketing, and a singer's mystique was protected by dimly lit music video sets rather than dissected in TikTok comments. For a stretch in the late 1990s, you couldn't spin the radio dial, wander through a mall, or watch Bet without brushing up against his voice. It was everywhere. Polished but plaintive, smooth yet never syrupy. He had that rare tenor that could plead in one line and flex the next, sliding between New Jack bravado and old-school tenderness. He was, by all measurable metrics, the future of contemporary R&B. Yet somehow, when the genre's marquee names are rattled off, Usher, D'Angelo, Genuine, even the scandal-stained R. Kelly, Donell's name is often an afterthought. The reasons aren't simple, but they're illuminating. His fall from mainstream grace reads like a case study in what happens when genuine artistry collides with a music machine obsessed with control, gimmicks, and a constant feed of scandals to keep the public distracted. Donell refused the circus, and in return the circus tried to make him disappear. Before fans ever saw his face, Donell Jones was already shaping the sound of the 1990s from behind the studio glass. Fresh out of Chicago's South Side, he signed a publishing deal with Untouchables Entertainment, the powerhouse production collective helmed by producer Edward Eddie F. Farrell. There, Donell started stacking songwriting credits like secret trophies. He co-wrote Think of You for a Teenage Usher, essentially helping launch a future superstar, and contributed hooks and harmonies to Madonna's Bedtime Stories sessions. Circle any R&B chart from 93 to 95 with a red marker and you'll find his fingerprints. At industry mixers, A&R reps whispered that he was next, an R&B savant who could write, produce, arrange, and sing every vocal layer himself. In hindsight, that Swiss Army knife talent should have guaranteed him Beyoncé-level longevity. Instead, it made record label execs uneasy. Self-sufficient artists, after all, are harder to manipulate. Arista gave him his shot in 1996. His debut, My Heart, didn't shake the world but built a loyal base with the single Knocks Me Off My Feet, a Stevie Wonder cover that demonstrated reverence for the genre's architects. But it was the sophomore set, Where I Want to Be in 1999, that crystallized his identity. Grown man confessions wrapped in glass-smooth production, anchored by the timeless title track and the cautionary club anthem You Know What's Up. The album whipped through 1 million sales like it was jogging, went platinum, and crowned Donell the next big voice of heartfelt rhythm and blues. On paper, he should have been unstoppable. That's what In Fishers formed. During those sessions, Donell had largely steered the musical ship, selecting collaborators, dissecting chord progressions, obsessing over background vocal stacks till dawn. Arista's marketing department enjoyed the revenue but not the independence. Labels in that era preferred singers who needed them, who showed up, cut vocals over pre-selected tracks, then smiled obediently for TRL. Donell Jones wanted none of that. He pushed for creative veto power, insisted his crew handle mixes, and bristled at suggestions to manufacture drama for magazine covers. Executives labeled him difficult, the industry's favorite euphemism for uncooperative black artists. Corporate pushback arrived in subtle, strangling stages. For 2002's Life Goes On the label, forced in-house producers onto half the album, dulling his trademark intimacy with radio-friendly gloss. Budgets for videos were trimmed, marketing plans were mysteriously re-evaluated. When first-week sales landed below Arista's inflated projections, the suits shrugged and used the numbers as proof he'd peaked. Radio pushes dried up, despite singles that still resonated in test markets. Trade paper rumors painted him as cold product, deterring outside collaborators. To the casual listener, it looked as though Donell had simply vanished. Internally, he was witnessing a textbook industry freeze out of an artist who refused to cede autonomy. As the corporate walls closed, personal demons crept in. Touring without backing meant smaller venues, tighter margins, and longer nights. Alcohol offered quick relief from disappointment and the creeping sense of betrayal. What began as celebratory Hennessy toasts morphed, by his own later admission, into blackout sessions that left studio time wasted and relationships dented. Friends watched him stumble through writing camps, visibly buzzed. The cracks widened at home too. His relationship with longtime partner Kushina Hunter deteriorated under the weight of secrecy and resentment. Then came the back-page headline that gave label honchos their final excuse. According to police reports, one late-night limousine ride spiraled when Donell's crew asked to swing through Washington Heights for an illicit purchase. The driver refused. Chaos ensued. An arrest for harassment and a weapons charge followed. Though the case never exploded into full-blown scandal, the details were murky and the industry had bigger tabloid fodder that week, executives seized the narrative. Donell was trouble. They cited moral clauses to halt promotion budgets completely. Suddenly, there were no video treatments, no late-night show bookings, no tour support. And still, behind closed doors, he was pitching new material. Songs that would later leak, revealing he'd never stopped creating. As momentum evaporated, the bottle filled. Daily drinking became the new studio schedule. Isolated, Donell cut off calls from supportive peers. The descent bottomed out in a Florida suburb in 2004 when, after visiting his children, he attempted to drive them to a birthday party while intoxicated. Pulled over, breath reeking of liquor, he was arrested for DUI. Sitting cuffed in the back of a patrol car, listening to his kids cry in the distance, clarity slammed into him harder than any industry sabotage ever could. If he didn't reset his life immediately, he would lose not just his career, but his family, and maybe his freedom for good. Rehab rarely makes for flashy headlines, so when Donell checked himself into a treatment facility, outlets barely noticed. No orchestrated People magazine cover, no paparazzi outside the clinic, just a man rebuilding in private. The program hammered home uncomfortable truths about dependency, trauma, and industry toxicity. He emerged sober, raw, and, crucially, uninterested in crawling back to the same system that had chewed him up. Music remained his lifeline, but he refused to mortgage it for another spin on the major label roulette wheel. Arista, sensing regained buzz, offered lukewarm resources for a comeback album. Against better judgment and lured by the possibility of re-entering R&B's upper echelon, Donell signed for one more round. The result, 2006's Journey of a Gemini, debuted at #1 on the R&B hip-hop chart, proving fans never left. Yet history repeated, singles were dumped to radio with minimal follow-through, videos shot on shoestring budgets, and tour funding evaporated after a handful of dates. Frustrated but wiser, Donell fulfilled contractual obligations and walked away when the label quietly dropped him in 2008. This time, he didn't chase another deal. Instead, he founded Candyman Music, a modest indie imprint where he owned masters day one. In 2010, he released Lyrics, recorded largely in a home studio free from A&R meddling. Commercial impact was modest, but creative satisfaction soared. He toured smaller theaters packed with loyalists who sang every word, a tangible reminder that success isn't always mapped by Billboard. 2013's Forever landed at #3 on the R&B chart without mainstream radio, a testament to diehard fans and grassroots marketing. Away from microphones, Donell focused on sobriety and fatherhood. In 2014, he married Jazz Anderson, reinforcing the family anchors that kept him balanced. Owning his catalog meant streaming checks landed directly in his account. No recoupment clauses, no mysterious deductions. He used that leverage to mentor younger songwriters, teaching them split-sheet literacy and the perils of chasing quick-hit fame at the expense of ownership. In industry panels, he spoke candidly about addiction, triggering a slow reevaluation of mental health resources for touring artists. Meanwhile, R&B's mainstream shifted to trap soul hybrids and auto-tuned crooners. Donell's lane became niche, but that niche was sturdy. Singles like 2021's Karma Payback and 2023 duet EP 100% Free circulated quietly yet consistently on streaming playlists dedicated to grown folk R&B. He live-streamed studio sessions, showing fans the meticulous layering of harmonies, a digital masterclass for aspiring producers. Without radio gatekeepers, his direct-to-fan ecosystem thrived. Looking back, could Donell Jones have been an Usher-level superstar? Possibly, if he'd played the publicity game, surrendered creative control, and provided labels with the drama that fuels viral cycles. But he chose autonomy, and autonomy has a price. The industry tried to sabotage him. His own choices nearly finished the job. Yet the man refused to stay buried. Today he stands sober, self-owned, and still singing. Proof that survival, not statistics, can be the most resonant legacy. So when someone asks, whatever happened to Donell Jones? The answer isn't that he vanished. He evolved, off the grid the majors monitor, into a space where art isn't dictated by quarterly earnings or scandal quotas. He traded Sprite commercials and primetime slots for master recordings and mental peace. In a landscape littered with cautionary tales of artists who lost everything to contracts, Donell's quieter, steadier story hits different. He lost the machine but gained himself. And in the long run, that might be the most unforgettable hook he ever wrote.